You thought we were gone, but we were just taking a break. Episode 15 of the Ball Card Show. I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster, back from the Oregon coast. I was on vacation for a couple of weeks, and nobody wanted to listen to Jason talk by himself.
Maybe they did, but I was too lazy to do it.
That's
Also,
100% fair.
Props to you making it all the way through the Oregon Trail without getting dysentery.
Yeah,
Shout out to the 80s and 90s kids.
Absolutely. Didn't get stuck in Donner's Pass, but I also did not go hunting with my space bar.
Yep.
So yeah, there was that.
There's that. Oh, by the way, we're a part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I haven't said that. I should be saying that. That's our network.
Yeah, we are under contract.
Yes, we signed on the dotted line.
Guys.
Digitally.
Yes.
It wasn't, which is underwhelming when you see like all the fanfare like with presidential signatures and they have like a pin for each one. And then you're like, I'm signing a contract.
Click.
And then you just click a box.
Click.
It's slightly underwhelming, but we are part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
It does improve my signature, though.
Yeah?
Drastically improves my signature when I just click.
We're here. It's November, which means Great Lakes Christmas Ale is out.
Yeah, and if you take a big swig of it right after eating some artichoke jalapeno dip, it doesn't go very well, does it?
It does not go well.
We won't say exactly how you described it, but it wasn't a good experience for Jason.
Yeah, I feel like I was just in Santa's workshop.
After hours, was Jerry Sandusky there? Too far?
Yeah, I was going to say turning tricks, but you went way too far. Way. And that's what I love about Gary, and that's why we can't do this show without him.
Yeah, well.
For those of you with concern, texts and thoughts and concerns, I like it that you missed us.
Yeah, we do. We appreciate it. I did get a decent amount of that asking where the episodes were. And that's partly our fault because we didn't post anything to social media to tell people we were taking a couple days off. But to be fair, we know exactly how many of y'all are listening to this, and only about 5% of you follow our social media. So, yeah.
It may have to do with our lack of activity on social media.
That's fair.
But we appreciate you reaching out with concerns and also like, what the hell? I listened to this on my commute and it's not here. What is wrong? What happened?
Re-listen to episodes. They get funnier.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really, but.
We are funnier than Dr. Stephen Brule.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Not true at all.
Not true at all. I take it back.
And if you're not sure who Dr. Stephen Brule is, you should go look that up.
Welcome to your weekend. Is it on Netflix now or Amazon? What is it?
It's on HBO.
HBO
Go.
All of them?
All of them.
No commercials?
None.
Just Stephen Brule. Hey, Stephen Brule looking at you right here in your face.
Turn this thing off. I'm driving the gravy. Oh, yeah. If you don't know who that is, when you finish listening to this podcast, go look and watch, and please let us know how much you enjoyed it.
For your health.
Because you're going to enjoy it immensely.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're here. We're talking through episode 15. We want to talk sports cards, but I got to tell you, I'm pissed off.
This is going to be fun, guys. You're usually used to me going on a rant, and Jason started the rant as we were prepping for this, and it wasn't like
this isn't fabricated.
No, he wasn't practicing for this, and I literally looked at him and said, shut up and save it for the podcast so everybody can hear you go on a rant. So the floor, my friend, is yours.
In the words of Kanye, holler, we want prenup. We want prenup. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with that because what kind of human being with a soul and a heart throws away 3 boxes of Topps Chrome retail, but still it's hard to get a hold of. Topps Chrome, 2 Chronicle basketball sitting in a Kroger bag on the counter. Apparently it was time to clean, so those had to go in the trash. Saw a little cellophane in the bag because I got excited and opened them in the car in the parking lot, but they were all there. I'm told, I set them downstairs where your other cards are. I get down here, there is not a single box. They've all been thrown in the trash, and yesterday was trash day. I would dive in a dumpster. Like, you don't know you couldn't find retail. I found retail. I opened retail. I bought too much.
The rookie class this year ain't worth diving in a dumpster.
Don't patronize me.
Keep it flowing, bro.
I just don't understand. Like, all right, so in principle, and I'm safe because there's no chance in this world my wife listens to this podcast. Like,
Mine does.
Hey, I talk
And
about
they're friends.
yeah, but your wife is blindly loyal to you. Let's
That's
be
true.
honest.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
She hitched the wagon. She signed the prenup. I don't have one of those. So apparently, this is just something you have to work out. I don't know how this works. I don't know where we go from here. Counseling? I don't know what we do.
I think at this point you just say goodbye to that, $140, $150 worth of retail you found. If y'all could see the look on Jason's face right now, moments like this are when I wish this was a YouTube crossover.
There's not
podcast.
enough nutmeg in this Christmas sale to make up for my feelings.
Does nutmeg normally help your feelings? Do you just get the little
I
nut of nutmeg and
don't
just grind it
need
directly into your mouth?
What you're doing right now. Can I say something?
You can say
Can I just say
whatever you
something
want.
real quick?
Oh.
Bro, you need to Google the word empathy. At some point when everybody else is checking out Steve Brule, Google the word empathy. And then, I know this is crazy because you've been the same person since you were 15. Try applying it to your life.
Nah.
No, listen. It'll get you farther. You'll have more than one friend.
Why?
Because
why would I want
well,
that?
I know you haven't experienced this, but people will find you more pleasant.
Why would I want that?
Because, man, this is like talking to a dog and telling them they don't want a treat. I wasn't prepared for you to ask why.
Well, because the things you're saying all are things that literally mean nothing to me.
I hope your wife throws away your Aaron Donald collection. I think that's what needs to happen.
Well, my wife won't do that
Why?
because she doesn't go in my office ever.
Well, you know what I'm never going to do is set products. I'm never going to set my collection of anything on the island in the kitchen because apparently it gets thrown away. But I swear if my wife ever leaves anything important on that island unattended, sorry. Time to
Purse,
clean.
trash can.
Time to clean. It's the purge, 24 hours. I just shot a bite of artichoke dip
did.
right into your microphone.
Yeah, it was straight across. It was solid work. Yeah, we are, just so you guys have a good picture, Jason is frothing at the mouth, angry. There are bottles of Christmas ale, a half-eaten tub of artichoke jalapeno dip / spread, and some little pieces of naan bread right here. That's why it's not a YouTube show.
Point of clarification. When we say tub, we bought these at Costco.
Yes, it's an actual
So
tub.
some would argue an ice cream tub.
We got a half gallon of artichoke dip.
This is good, though. It's artichoke and jalapeno dip and spread.
Yeah, it's solid. It's solid work.
Could use a little hot sauce. We talked about that.
Yeah,
But
throw some Franks in
not
there.
bad.
Stir it up, but it's
Not
solid.
bad.
Solid for what it is. So anyway, there's Jason's rant. You guys got to catch a little bit of that. He doesn't do that very often. That's why I wanted to let it go. Have you purged it from your system? Or are you
I'm
still
going
stewing?
to be okay, but I'm not there yet. I'm a work in progress. In the words of John Mayer, I'm in repair.
Nope, never.
Yeah?
Don't do that again.
I'm just waiting on my wife to change. No?
Don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
Yeah. My dear, we're slow dancing in a burning house because there's no point if you're going to throw all my stuff away.
By
Too
all your
far
stuff, you mean
and
one thing.
unfunny. So let's reel it back in
Yep, let's go.
and talk about what we love to throw away if we're married to someone who has a podcast about sports cards. Sports cards.
I can't wait to have your wife as a guest on the podcast because
I'll consider that. I was in last week, but I don't know.
on a
Right now.
consistent basis, your wife who doesn't listen to our podcast asks to be on our podcast.
Yeah.
And I would like to interview her about this situation.
I'm going to text her and see if she's up for a little NBA interview.
Yeah, bring her
Get
in.
a hot take. And see
I already
she
know what
says.
the hot take's going to be. And this is truly just off the cuff, guys. But I'm willing to bet you large amounts of money that unless Jason tells her in this text not to, the take will be Kobe is the best ever and LeBron is terrible and a horrible human being.
I'm also going to try to get a public apology.
Well, while we wait to see whether or not we are going to be graced with Mrs. Otero for some of this episode, let's talk some sports and the sports cards that are related to it. NBA season is about a month in. Most teams are 12, 13 games into the schedule. A few teams have been a little off. A few teams have been...
Gary, shut up. She's
oh,
here.
it's here?
and I need her to take your seat, you can come share with me.
Okay, we will be back to NBA talk after this impromptu interview.
All right. So, have a seat. The love of my life. Why did you do that?
Do what?
Why did you need to step up to the mic?
Do what?
Let's talk about you throwing away my cards. So, if it's time to clean and something's on the island that we're not sure about, but it's bagged, just throw it away.
Trash it.
Trash it.
You should have put it away.
Okay, it was there for like an hour. I went and took a shower. That rhymed. Came back. I set your cards down in the basement where your other stuff is. But, man, none of those boxes I bought were down here.
This was a trap.
Okay, so, no, I want to talk to you, but you have to, like, have your mouth up on the mic. Step up to the microphone. If you're going to make big baller moves, then you need to...
This is the one that G uses.
Yeah. I know. It's not sanitary, but it's okay. I would like to give you an opportunity on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever podcasts are listened to do a public apology. I know it wasn't on purpose, right?
It wasn't.
Okay, so
I'm sorry
what are you sorry for?
that I threw your cards away accidentally.
Yeah, and I probably got like a little bit of that joint spending account to spend on some breaks this week as a result. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Let's talk basketball. NBA is up and running. We have a few questions for you. Gary, I want you to be thinking, unless you have one to kick it off here.
I always have one to kick it off.
All right.
Who's the best basketball player of all time, Lesley?
Kobe Bryant.
Who's the worst basketball player of all time, Lesley?
LeBron James.
Told you.
So talk me through this. Let's talk about LeBron. Remember, step up to the mic. Everybody they want to hear, because that's a hot take. The disdain you have for LeBron James.
I don't think it's that unpopular. My opinion is not that unpopular.
That disdain for LeBron James is that consistent. Like that many people
He's
dislike.
gone downhill swiftly over the years.
Can
And
you define
people's
that? I mean,
opinion-
obviously not statistically, but how would you define that?
The people's, how people like him. His
Is it because of
popularity.
what he did to Space Jam?
Well, he destroyed Space Jam,
I
and I
would-
haven't even seen it.
What is it about LeBron that just drives you nuts? Because you
He's a
can't
baby.
even. Go ahead.
He's a baby.
Explain it. Walk us through it. There may be millions listening right now that are like, finally, someone had the courage to say it. The type of person that would throw away sealed baseball product. Yes, they have the guts to do it. Why is he a baby?
Because he yells at the refs for nothing. He cries to his teammates, flops on the floor. He got poked in the eye and was down for over a minute.
That's a solid argument, the eye poke. I remember that.
Kobe ripped his Achilles. When
Is
he
it just
switched
like
his free throws.
because you're comparing anything to your love for Kobe, nobody else? Like you would throw Michael Jordan in the mix just because you, as a kid, you got to watch what he did and you knew it was special.
Jordan's second.
But what I'm saying is there ever going to be anyone else that dons a Lakers uniform where you're going to be impressed? Is it even possible? Like, for real. Like, couldn't there ever be another superstar in your mind in a Lakers uniform that you will...
Not as good as Kobe.
It's going to be always in comparison. Like, you'll never be able to just appreciate. Because right now, LeBron, like him or hate him, is one of the all-time greats. And it's on your team, and you can't allow yourself to enjoy it.
Mm-mm. He's not a good teammate.
While we're talking about bad teammates, let's talk about someone in Philadelphia that you've been a big fan of that has turned out to be a turd in the punch bowl. You want to go on? Ben. What happened?
He's a bit of a Kardashian.
Oh. Going after the Kardashians all at once.
A solid take.
Go on.
He wanted to be a Laker. He wanted to be Russell Westbrook's. He wanted that spot.
Ooh. Did he want to date other NBA players?
No. He wanted to continue dating the Kardashian girl.
Well, you just said he was a bit of a Kardashian, and that's basically
I mean, he belongs in that family.
Him and Lamar Odom just doing it up together, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
feel like there's another one too. Oh, Devin Booker. He's also with the Kardashian.
Yeah, but he's good.
And he's likes
real
classic
good.
cars, and he's a good teammate.
He likes classic cars. See, this is what I'm talking about. You know things about NBA players.
Follow him on Insta.
Where do you follow him on Insta? I was going to ask you, where do you source your NBA information? Because I'm not lying. Listeners at home, in your car, wherever you are, Lesley consistently drops knowledge on NBA players. But when Joel Embiid was like, I don't even talk to him, I don't care about him anymore, what did that do to you? Because Philly kind of became your little pseudo team in your protest and pouting about LeBron.
Yeah.
You didn't like the pouting, but it's true.
Yeah, I think the duo of Embiid and Ben Simmons drew me to Philadelphia, and then they had the other players that are good. They're a good team. But, I mean, he's done.
Yeah.
He's done.
So who do you think makes a good run this year? Do you want to see Golden State take it?
Yeah,
Are you pulling for them? Why do you like Golden State so much? Other than our son is obsessed with Steph.
Because Steph's pretty crazy good.
Yeah.
He
His
pulls off-
Instagram is solid. No?
It's okay.
Who has the best Instagram in the NBA? Who's got your favorite content?
I mean, it just depends on what
I
you
need
like.
a name. I need a name. What do you like?
I do like Devin Booker's because he does have some cool cars and stuff. Ben Simmons actually has a pretty good one. He buys really expensive, like a Kardashian would, cars, vehicles.
Yeah, screw
homes.
the Kardashians, right?
Yeah.
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 Unless
Why are they
unless
famous?
there's a Kardashian like to sponsor the ball card show. In that case, love you guys.
Mm-hmm. Especially Courtney.
Yeah. She's the realest.
Yeah.
Babe,
Bruce
I
he was my
might
favorite
have
Jenner.
I might have
Wow.
started this episode telling people that they need prenups because
Why?
of the cards. I wasn't in a good place. The non-bread and artichoke dip hadn't hit yet. I was a little bit hangry, and I'm not going to lie. The artichoke dip with Christmas ale is the worst taste combination, but I've had a lot of foods today. So
Gas station tuna.
should I walk them through all of it or just leave it at gas station
I
tuna?
think you should just leave it there.
All
It
right.
really doesn't
Well,
get worse.
Gary, did you have anything else for Lesley? I think we're going to do this continually. We're going to bring you in as we talk about NBA. I'm going to let you roast players because when you hate a player, it's one of my favorite things.
I'll always hate LeBron.
Yeah.
Always.
It just kind of hurts because he's not my favorite. Like, I'm not a big LeBron fan, but I just can't deny his greatness.
I mean, there was a time where I thought he was going to do really well.
Yeah.
Downhill.
Yeah.
In the last several years. And it
Gotcha.
just gets worse.
All right. 2 more questions.
Okay.
Number 1, what's your favorite product to open with me? Or by yourself, but you like to open it with.
Prism.
Prism what? What sport?
Basketball.
And what do you do when you open a pack? What's the first thing you do with the cards?
I look for a shiny one.
And what do we call it? Got some color.
Yeah, we got some color. It's been a while.
It's been a while because you can't
it's
find it.
$5,000 to buy.
Remember when you got me 2 1920 Prism basketball blasters? At that time, what was it, like $70 a piece? Because it was so marked up. We couldn't believe it. What's that going for now, Gary? $300 a box. So
Yeah.
glad we opened that. We did get a Tyler
too.
Hero silver out of that,
Yeah.
which I sold for $40. That was probably a mistake.
Yeah. Should have kept it.
Should have kept it. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I think I like you. We'll work this out.
Sorry I threw away your card.
It's nothing a couple hobby breaks can't make up for, and we'll get to that. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
All right. Love you. Bye.
And I'm back.
So anyway, do not let your wife anywhere near your cards.
Oh, that was fun. I wish that was a moment where I wish we had a third seat so that I could have just commentated on that entire exchange.
I would have let you into the mic at any point. I was just kind of up on it.
Yeah, no, it was just a little awkward. I felt like we were very close facially, and I wasn't okay with
Well,
that.
she knew she was in trouble.
Yeah, it's okay though. That was solid. So NBA wise, we got some Lesley take on the NBA.
Yep.
And we were getting ready to talk about it a little bit. So we'll start with the Sixers because that's what you guys were talking about a little bit. One of the rookies from last year that didn't get a ton of playing time that I think a lot of people in Philadelphia weren't real angry that Ben Simmons kind of went full crazyville.
Yep.
Tyrese Maxey doing some things. He's had, they've played 13 games, and I think he's had 10 games into double figures, and 7 or 8 of those have been over 20 points. I think he's got at least one 30-point game. Shooting well from outside. That's a guy that you can still pick up his stuff at a reasonable price, and if he continues to play at that level, it's not a bad buy. There's a couple of teams that have struggled so far. The Bucks are under 500, and that's, I think, surprised a lot of people, but Chris Middleton's been hurt. Drew Holiday's been hurt. Drew came back last night. They're expecting Middleton back any point. I'm not sure if Middleton was hurt, whether he was in COVID protocols. But either way, he hasn't been playing for the last 5 or 6 games, and they're under 500. Giannis can't carry that team completely by himself. Needs a little bit of outside shooting help. But the one guy on that team that has been helping them out a lot, he's floated around so far in his career, former first-round pick, Grayson Allen, playing really, really well, to the point where people are saying Dante DiVincenzo might not get his starting job back.
Grayson Allen was really on the cheap.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and he still is. And don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody to think that Grayson Allen's a guy that you're going to go out and buy a $10 card and it's going to be worth $400 by the end of the season, because that's not going to happen.
No, but you buy a lot of them at $5 to $10,
and you sell them for 15 to 20. Then yes, yeah. But he's not a guy who's going to 10 or 12x, but he's a guy you might double up on. And that's not a bad look. Again, one of the things that we've talked a little bit about, and it's starting to really settle into people. We had this window last year during 2020 and in the first part of 2021 where there was this craze over graded base cards. Everybody was, and graded base cards were going through the roof. Now that is gone. Not that there's no value to graded base cards anymore, but it is not. Everybody wants numbered, colored.
As a flip, that's fading out.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think people are still going to grade base.
Yeah.
For me, like, I love the Topps product. That's what I came up with. So the base rookie card, that true first
that
rookie.
Flagship, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that flagship rookie is still something that if I like the player, I'm going to get that.
Yeah, you want to collect that. Yeah. As a collector, yes. As a flip, exactly. The focus is going much more to short printed, colored, numbered cards. There's a couple reasons for that. One, I think there is a fear, and we've talked about Fanatics and Panini. I think there's a fear that over the next 2 years or so that Panini is going to not just turn the printing presses up, but put the printing presses into meltdown mode. Yeah. And if that happens, then the only way to maintain value is going to numbered and short printed colored cards, because the base is going to be flooded out. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's, Grayson Allen's a guy. We talked about Tyrese Maxey. Jordan Poole is another guy who's playing really, really well out in Golden State. Lesley and Jason were talking a little bit about Golden State. With Klay Thompson still on the mend, Jordan Poole is getting tons of minutes and playing really, really well. I know he's dropped a 30-point game so far. I know Steph's dropped a 50-point game early on in the season. Everybody that thought Steph might have lost a little bit of a step obviously hasn't been watching, because that kid is still balling out. Another team that is legitimately opening people's eyes, and I think just looking at some of the defensive metrics, I don't think they're going anywhere. The Chicago Bulls rebuild appears to have been successful. I would be shocked at this point if they do not end up making the playoffs. Zach LaVine is still doing the same things he was doing last year. And they brought in DeMar DeRozan, and DeMar DeRozan is absolutely just doing everything they anticipated him doing. He's not quite the player he was in Toronto in the first couple years in San Antonio, but he is playing really, really well, and he plays really well on the defensive end of the ball. Lonzo Ball is starting to settle in and be the distributor that team needs. And when Patrick Williams comes back from his injury, if he gets back this year, that's going to be even another boost to that Bulls team. that has surprised a lot of people in the East, and I don't think they're going to fall out of that top 8. I think that's a likely playoff team, and there are some guys you can still pick up Zach LaVine stuff cheap, and get in on some of that action.
How good does it feel that the old school Dream Team era East Conference is coming back?
Well,
Like I'm nostalgically excited about it.
It's
Bulls,
fun.
Knicks, you got some of these like teams that are kind of on the up and again for it's been a while. It's been a minute.
The NBA has there's a combination of things that are leading to that, and I like all of them. The NBA has changed a couple of rules and made it a point of emphasis that if an offensive player initiates contact in a non-basketball move and throws the ball towards the hoop, that's not a foul anymore. James Harden still hasn't adjusted. James Harden has gone from the leading scorer in the NBA for almost a decade to shooting 30% from the field.
I mean, they changed the game on him.
Yes, and so will he adjust? Yes, he's a good enough basketball player that he will adjust. But that has been a big positive for the East because even though it's not the 80s and early 90s anymore, that still is a more physical brand of basketball. Now, they're still calling hand checks and things like that, but just jumping into guys and throwing a ball up doesn't result in 3 shots at the foul line anymore, which is causing some hiccups for some of those guys that have gotten a lot of attention and a lot of hobby love.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of what else NBA-wise there is to kick around. The Cavs have played pretty well. Shockingly enough, as a Cavs fan, I still thought they were a year or two out. Okoro is everything that they hoped he would be on the defensive side of the ball. He's still a work in progress on the offensive side of the ball, but hopefully he gets there. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Colin Sexton by the time the trade deadline comes up.
I bet he shoots the ball if he touches it.
Yeah. Darius Garland has taken another step, and that makes Colin Sexton a little bit more disposable. They're starting to give Dylan Windler some minutes. So from a hobby standpoint, you're talking about the Cavs. The guy that I think you probably are best and most likely to see long-term growth and value from is Darius Garland. The play on Isaac Okoro is a little bit longer. I think Colin Sexton, until he gets to another market, is probably peaked to where he is. He kind of is what he is. I'm not sure what else he can do in Cleveland to increase his values very much.
Evan Mobley.
No? Yeah. He would have to sustain a ridiculous level of play for most of the season before the hobby world took notice. He's just been around too long. Yeah. It's not like Christian Wood a couple years ago where it was like his second or third year. I mean, Mobley's in his 7th or 8th season. Mm-hmm. So I don't see a situation where he just suddenly catches fire from a hobby standpoint. But we're a month into the NBA season, and it's been kind of fun. There's been a lot of guys hurt. Michael Porter Jr. is out indefinitely, that back issue that sidelined him in college and he had to have surgery for. They're not going to take any chances after they signed him to that big contract. Mm-hmm. And he was struggling early in the season anyway. I think that he probably has been dealing with it since tip of the season, but didn't make a big thing about it. But he didn't look like himself the first 3 weeks before they shelved him.
Yeah. Well, baseball's dead for the next several months.
Yeah, but prospecting isn't.
I mean, the hobby's not dead.
But. No, but baseball is. I mean, the Braves did some work. It was fun to watch. As a guy who grew up a Reds fan and constantly having to watch the Braves while the Reds were terrible. Yeah. The one thing you always could count on as a kid and a baseball fan was the Braves were always going to be on TV. So if you wanted to watch
your favorite Brave to watch growing up?
Greg Maddux. Yeah. There will never be another pitcher in my mind who had the combination of longevity and absolute pinpoint accuracy the way that Maddux did.
You think Maddux could be a superstar today?
Yes. I let me rephrase.
He's the most baseball personality in the history of baseball.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Superstar, like from a cultural standpoint, no. And he wasn't then.
No.
At all. But superstar as far as winning Cy Young Awards and going in the Hall of Fame, absolutely. Yeah. the one thing that Greg Maddux proved, and it's still true today, is if you can with 100% certainty throw a baseball exactly where you want it to be, and you have also taken the time to study the scouting report of the batters that you are facing, you don't have to throw the ball 100 miles an hour.
What if you do that but like at 50 miles an hour?
Well, I'll tell you this. You played baseball.
I know the answer.
It's a lot harder to hit a 50-mile-an-hour pitch than you think it is.
Yeah, but you still need to be able to throw pretty hard.
Yeah,
at that level.
I mean, you
for
still
me,
need-
for me, Chipper Jones, you talk about natural ability,
Oh, yeah.
just the natural raw talent. Somebody sticking with their team through the career.
Dave Justice was a lot of fun to watch.
Dave
too.
Justice was a blast.
Ron
Was it
Gant,
96 when they had the last World Series? 95. I remember watching that. I was a Braves fan that year because I'm a diehard Reds fan. And then after that, well, we've already talked about Eric Davis getting traded and how devastating that was. But after that 90 team completely disbanded, there wasn't much to watch in the way of the Reds for,
No, we
for
were
a long
terrible
time.
for 2 decades.
Baseball was so bad, Cleveland was good. So
yeah.
I'm going to say that again because I liked it. Baseball was so bad that Cleveland was good.
Yeah, it was a rough window as a Reds fan.
Yeah.
It really
That's
was.
not going to go well with the press play network, is it? Because it's really Cleveland heavy.
Yeah, well, you
But
know.
they can empathize.
Can they?
You
Should they
can't.
take lessons from me?
You can't. They can. You have no incentive for that.
No, I'm dead on the inside.
But yeah, it was fun to watch the Braves do that. What's funny is the media was not excited. And I'm like, this is an awesome story when a team nobody's expecting to run that deep.
Who, the Braves?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they were all expected at that point. You remember?
Well,
they
at
had
that
been,
point,
they
yeah,
had been
they're
in
there.
3 World Series before that.
Yeah. I hear you, but you're missing some key players going deep into the playoffs.
Yeah. They had, what was that pitching staff? That was Smoltz.
I'm talking about this year.
You're talking about this. I thought you were still talking about
this
95.
year. No,
Okay.
this year. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean the Braves, but nobody thinks they're
Well,
gonna.
this year was nuts because at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of people that thought the Braves were a World Series contender. And then they really didn't play well the first half of the season. And then Acuna blows his knee out. And everybody thinks they're going to start trading guys and becoming a seller. And they didn't. They went out and they got Jock Peterson. They went out and they got Jorge Soler, World Series MVP and Soler. And then they smoked the Dodgers. They just smoked the Dodgers. The Dodgers had one solid outing in that.
Maybe if the Dodgers would spend a little bit more money. There's nothing more satisfying as a Midwest baseball fan than watching the Yankees or Dodgers lose after dropping hundreds of millions of dollars on players.
Well, that's true. And there's also nothing more baseball than the understanding that the real difference between a 110-win team and an 88-win team goes away if somebody gets hot.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in and say this. This is one thing, and it could probably apply to other sports, but I see it more in baseball. Baseball is a sport that you can have less flair, less superstars, talent-wise, and still get the job done compared to some other sports. Football, you're going to every time you talk about football, it's going to be, hey, here's the 2 or 3 players that have to get it done for them. Baseball is one where you can have those C+, B players and get the job done. You have to manage it. And I think the younger generation is kind of overall bored with baseball, but I think part of the reason that happens is because there's so much calculative strategy going in. Not that it doesn't happen with football, hockey, soccer, and all that. I just have seen it happen more in baseball where teams can just pick up momentum almost out of nowhere, out of left field, if you will.
Yeah.
And then they find themselves in the World Series. What a great story that is for the sport.
And it's fun as it's happening. And you talk about those kind of B and C level guys that end up being superstars for 10 days and it wins a world. The 86 Mets don't win a World Series without Ray Knight. Yeah. And Ray Knight was the epitome of a journeyman average MLB baseball player, which still makes him a better baseball player than 99.9% of people on the planet.
Look at the Yankees with Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
He hits the most important home run of his life. The Reds were done with him, right? And look at like the trajectory of his life changing with that one swing because in that moment he was ready. For me, the love I have for baseball has a lot to do with this. it's one of the few sports. Well, I'm so biased. Like as I'm saying it, I hear it, but it's one of those sports where legitimately the principles in Little League that they tell you about, have fun, teamwork, blah blah blah. You just see it play out so often with who ends up at the top. It's not like a lot of other sports where you don't have as many of those dynasties in baseball, where it's year after year after year after year. Now, over the scope of 100 years, you know.
Yeah, well, and it's, I think the thing, and to bring it back to the hobby, it's the reason that the type of day trading activity that occurs in basketball, and even to an extent a little bit with football, is never truly successful with baseball, because baseball is a long-term view of things. Guys that are not good players, guys that will get sent back to the minors in a week, will go on a 10-day run where they hit 650 with 5 home runs and 15 RBIs, and 2 weeks later they're back in AAA.
Yeah.
Because they got hot for a minute and they couldn't sustain it. The hardest thing in sport to do.
My boy Aquino, that I bought everything he came out with. They figured out he can't hit off speed or movement. If you throw something that's moving away from him, he's going to lunge.
Yeah.
Like he can't keep his weight back. And so they put him in this most awkward open stance to keep his weight back. Now he can't see the ball.
Yeah.
Like there's so much mechanically going on for the adjustments he's made. And that's a perfect example. You can get hot for a little bit and then they're like, oh yeah, don't keep throwing the heat because he can hit a fastball.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to figure out that off speed, Astrides.
Yeah.
Astrides?
Aristides. It's Aristides. That's it.
No,
Aristides
that's not it.
Aquino. Yeah, it is.
Aristides Aquinos.
Aristides, yeah. So, in any event,
hit the curve. I got a lot of your rookie cards, but variations, autographs. It'd be real
Everything.
swell if that wasn't Tinder.
He's not talking about the app. He's talking about lighting a fire.
Yeah. Come on.
In hobby terminology, though, baseball is a weird sport. Your best bet is to prospect deeply and keep your fingers crossed. NFL, we are right in the middle of the season. We are at the halfway point. About a quarter of the teams, if not a little bit more, have had a bye so far.
And a quarter of the teams are injured.
It's
Injuries
been
a bad year
ugly.
for injuries.
Derrick Henry goes down. When he went down, he was 300 yards ahead of the next guy as far as leading the NFL in rushing. He was 8 games in. He had 970 some odd yards rushing, on pace for another 2,000-yard season. Jonathan Taylor was the next guy at like 650. Derrick Henry's down. Quarterback-wise, you got Russell Wilson with a pin in his finger, hopefully back soon. It's been rough out there as an NFL fan and as a guy who's pretty heavily invested in NFL product.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to ride the wave out there. Have been some really nice surprises. We talked about one in the last episode. Jamar Chase continues to do really good things. Joe Burrow continues to do really good things. He had a rough game.
How about that Browns game? Like, I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting it either. And I think that what really did it, football is a little bit like baseball in this. If something bad happens early in a game, it's very easy for the game to just get completely away from you. The Bengals got the ball first. They drove down the field. They looked really good. And then Burrow throws a relatively bad pick six that goes 99 yards the other way. And then they go down and score and tie it up, but they just didn't look the same.
Right.
And that was it. It was not Burrow's best game, but that's the first time this year he hasn't thrown multiple touchdown passes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The other thing that's weird to me, and it doesn't matter how many years it's happened now, because I remember, was it a Thursday night game where Baker got put in as a start? He wasn't a starter. He came into the game, won the first game.
I don't remember. Was
remember,
Thursday
like, Bud Light had locked the fridge. You couldn't even have a Bud Light until the Browns won. Remember they did that whole marketing pitch?
No.
Are you serious? Are you
Run it
that
by
much
me
of a big
again.
fan? So all throughout, at least Ohio, there was like at B-Dubs and all these places, they had a cooler full of Bud Light, and they put like a chain around it or whatever. And the whole thing was you can't have one until the Browns win a game. It was after they had lost all these games.
I don't remember that, but
So
that's
it's
okay.
brilliant marketing. So then it's like once that happens, you open it up and everybody gets a Bud Light, whatever. But I remember being at Pastimes right here in Columbus, watching Baker come in, win the game, and the hope. Like Cleveland fans try to get themselves hopeful so often, but it was genuine for a minute. And then to see the Browns actually seem they have a team that can compete. And it's been a couple years now, and they're beating teams that are good.
Yeah, they're also occasionally losing to teams that aren't.
That's true.
I think they're a little bit polarizing, but I do think, and we're going to see it now, last year when Odell Beckham was on the field, Baker Mayfield was a demonstrably worse quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So far this year, Baker has looked just barely better than average.
What do you think happens with Baker?
I think he'll be much better now that Odell's gone.
Do you think he stays in Cleveland?
I think that if he plays the rest of the year the way I think that he will, and if the Browns make the playoffs, they will pick up his option.
And what kind of money do you think he's going to be looking at?
The same as every other quarterback in the league when their contract's up. He won't get Patrick Mahomes money, but he'll be the second highest paid quarterback in the league until the next guy comes up. That's just the market for the NFL. Does that mean that you should go buy his cards? No. If you've got some, hang on to them. If you find some for 30, 40% under comps, grab them. Never bad to do that with quarterbacks that are starters and have a fan base. But the list of quarterbacks that have been the highest paid in the league is littered with guys that you don't want to collect or invest in. Jimmy Garoppolo was the highest paid quarterback in the league for a minute. Scott Mitchell back in the day was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Eric Kramer was the highest paid quarterback in the league. Sam Bradford was the highest paid quarterback in the league. Like, that is not an indicator of whether there's going to be hobby relevance or even whether they're going to be good in the long term. That's just the market.
It also doesn't mean if they have a season that's a little bit down, like Mahomes is having, that it's time to unload all the stuff you bought at a premium 6 months ago.
Oh, 100%. And to that point, folks, if you're out there wanting to dump your Mahomes stuff, and you're panic selling,
he has a great Kyler Illusions.
they're all sold, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
What'd you buy me?
I didn't buy you squat.
Bro, I give you my artichoke and jalapeno dip, and this is the way you repay me?
How many tubs of that have I left at your house after a night with the wives?
That sounded so awkward. I'm throwing up in my brain. A night with the wives? What are we? Are we hanging out in Utah? What's going on here?
It's just hanging out. Yeah. So the move. This is
We're
totally
not
unrelated to
swingers,
sports.
and I
No.
just want to immediately
You say
detest that
yeah,
possibility.
Let's just kill that.
I do not want to see Gary ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I mean, I've seen you.
But the normal
Not like
move,
that.
The normal move
Hey,
is
we gotta get some closure here for the listeners.
like what?
They are not comfortable right now. I can feel it.
You
We
can
haven't
feel
even
them being
posted
comfortable?
this, and there's somebody driving to work tomorrow morning,
Cringing?
and they're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, there's no swinging. There's no key parties.
What you mean is,
We're just friends and we hang
you
out.
came up and hung out, and you left some Costco food.
Yes. So because Costco Costco is the go-to. When it's time to hang out, Jason calls, said, "Hey, you guys want to come up, hang out?" Every time my wife and I go to Costco first, and we don't eat before we go, which is the worst
the
idea
best.
ever. And then we come to Jason and Leslie's house with $150 worth of just like Costco food.
It's like appetizers.
Yeah, it's like, here's a tub of shrimp. Here's some spinach artichoke dip. Here are some chicken street tacos.
Here's 47 beers.
Here is a tub of raspberry tart cookies. They're so
good.
good. And then we
So
eat it
good.
mostly, and
So
then we
that's
never
what,
take it
so that's
home.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, so totally unrelated to anything
Back
this
to
podcast is
NFL.
supposed to be about.
OBJ.
OBJ signed with the Rams
Yeah,
today.
hot off the press.
He won't even see the field there.
So his ego would not allow him to go where he should have gone, because I was
Green Bay?
1,000%. Green Bay makes the most sense. The way you and I were talking about this on the phone earlier today, Like OBJ wants to run his routes.
Yeah, he doesn't
There
care
are
what the offense calls
there
for.
are a handful or less quarterbacks that are going to be comfortable and talented enough to actually feed OBJ appropriately. That number gets even smaller when you look at the programs that would allow for it,
right?
because of their schemes. Green Bay was such a good opportunity, but in my mind, just little I know, I haven't really hung out with OBJ that much, right? More of a Landry guy.
We're not boys.
But anyway, his ego could not allow him to live in Green Bay. But there were indications he was interested in Green Bay.
Well, I think that
Aaron Rodgers would have loved him there.
I think at the end of the day, the play for him right now is a chance to win a ring, because he's not going to see the field. They're not going to. Who are they going to take off of the field to put him on?
Get
it?
Cooper Kupp out of there. He doesn't know
he's
what he's
only
doing.
leading the NFL in receiving yards and touchdowns.
Let's talk about him for a second. Coming off of an obliterated knee,
Yeah.
and within 2 years, like right back to that, you don't always see that.
No, you don't.
Especially in that role where you need to be able to shift direction so quickly. Like, that's not an ACL, MCL, because he had all of it, right? It was all the
He
CLs.
did. But here's the thing about that, though. It goes back to what we were talking about with Greg Maddux. And hobby-wise, I think Cooper Kupp is a solid buy.
Good
Again,
call. Yep.
his stuff's not going to be worth thousands of dollars. Unless you get some really crazy high-end stuff, maybe. But I think there is room for growth. Here's the thing. It's just like we talked about with Greg Maddux. When the skill set that you have is not based around overpowering athleticism, it allows you to return from those types of injuries without much of a drop-off, because your game wasn't based on overpowering athleticism and explosion anyways. Cooper Kupp's game is based 100% around a ridiculous level of footwork in the top of his route stem. This is the football coach in me talking. I'm sorry.
Route stem down.
So your route stem is the stem is from the time you leave the line of scrimmage until you get to the point where the first break in any given route is. That's the stem. Like
First
the stem
break
of
is
a flower.
point of contact, or
No,
where
first
the
break
route
is
begins
when
to
you
shift
change
direction. Yep.
Yeah, break is when you shift directions. His footwork in and out of breaks from the time he was in college, I never saw any of his high school tape, but is so exceptional that a guy who is a 4'5", 4'6", 40 guy, he's not a blazing fast guy, although he is a guy who runs about as fast in pads as he does out of pads, creates ridiculous amounts of separation and just makes DBs look silly. If the Rams are able to, anytime they get Cooper Kupp in the slot against a safety or a linebacker, it is a 100% chance that Matt Stafford is going to check to a pass and put the ball in his direction.
Speaking of Matt Stafford, 1 season ago, dude was cheap.
Yeah, he's not anymore.
If you can get a hold of him, there's a QB right there that's probably, if you've been collecting for a few years, what year is he? 2012?
2011, I think.
11? So if you've been collecting for a little while, there's a chance you got that rookie card sitting there. There's a chance that rookie card. I got one I'm getting ready to send off for grading that's real clean. But now be a good time to send that off. Catch
Actually,
it before the playoffs.
He might be 2010 rookie.
Really?
Now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Tops, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a 2010 rookie. So you're going to have, Tops, and what else would have been then? There was still Bowman then, football-wise. There was Fleer still. No, there wasn't Fleer in 2010. Either way, he's a guy who I was actually just getting ready to fire up and see what his PSA 10s are going for, because, like I said, a year ago, they were not crazy expensive. They were $150.
Yep.
Let's see what we've got the most recent sales for just flagship rookies. Matt Stafford. Topps Chrome Blue Refractor. PSA 10 just sold for $400. Got some Topps Chrome Copper Refractor.
Give me a Topps paper because I'm just curious.
$3,000.
Oh, dang.
$1,800 for a different one. So his stuff has gone crazy. But he went to L.A., and he went to a coach that's letting him throw the ball around in a rhythm offense.
Hey, guys, he's still good.
Matt Stafford?
He's still real good.
Yeah, he's never stopped being good. He just was in a terrible situation. You know who's not good?
Who dat?
Zach Wilson.
Mm.
There are 3 quarterbacks on the Jets roster. One of them is a journeyman who's played in every league that would give him a paycheck. And the next one is Mike White, who was a 5th-round draft pick in 2018. And the other one is Zach Wilson, who was the number 2 overall pick. Who's the worst quarterback on that team, Jason?
I wasn't listening. Say it again.
Zach Wilson, the worst quarterback on that team by a large margin. Mike White came in with no game experience in the NFL. Yes, he's had a couple years of practice and things like that. 5th-round pick, not a big arm, running the exact same offense with the exact same players, and all of a sudden the Jets look like a competent football team against my Bengals too, unfortunately. Then he gets hurt the next week after looking really good for a quarter, and Josh Johnson comes in, and the Jets still look like a competent football team. Zach Wilson's back from injury.
I'm interested in the Jets.
I'm interested to see whether Robert Saleh has the cojones to keep him on the bench, because that's the best thing for that team by a lot.
Yeah.
Jordan Love got his first start. There was a lot of hobby bump for Jordan Love coming into Aaron Rodgers' COVID game. And then Jordan Love went and kind of did what anybody who's paid attention thought he would do. He looked average. He is what he is. Probably needs to sit for another year or two, kind of like the guy he replaced.
Starting,
Yeah, 3 years. Everybody forgets
I was
Aaron Rodgers
just gonna
sat
say
for
that, yeah.
3 years before he ever saw the field.
You know, he may not have liked it, but I think it's turned out okay for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that when you make a huge jump in competition level that it might be a good thing to, learn.
Yeah, if you're like me, a lot of times you get like more into the hobby than into the sport. Like you get so obsessed in the hobby. Aaron Rodgers is the palate cleanser for this, because when you watch a pure quarterback, his ability to put the ball where he does, his ability to anticipate when he has receivers that aren't running a planned route, like his intuition, I guess is what I would say. So he has the talent to throw across his body deep and the intuition to know where that receiver is going to go, which that takes work. That's tons of homework.
It's not only tons of homework, but it's tons of just bonding time. And I can't say enough about this in the game of football. And basketball, I think, is a lot the same way, but I just don't have as much experience there. As a quarterback, the closer your friendships are with the guys around you, the better you play.
So I'm going to circle back right now to the empathy conversation we had a minute ago. And I want to ask you if
that
this
might be why my career fizzled out. Is that what you're saying? That might be why I'm sitting here in your basement doing a podcast instead of a mansion somewhere.
We work on garage doors, bro.
Yeah, well,
it's all making sense.
Maybe
now.
it makes sense. Physical talent was there and the soul was not.
Hey, we could keep talking, but I feel like this is a great point to stop.
To call it a day.
To call it a day. And guess what, Ball Card Show fans? We're going to be back next week. We won't leave you for 2 weeks again for a while.
We won't, because there's no
probably
vacations
till the holidays.
until like January.
Yeah. And then we'll leave you in January. But,
for sure. We do appreciate y'all hanging with us. Please don't forget to jump on Facebook, go find the Ball Card Show, join the group, join the page, interact. Tell us what you want to hear us talk about. If you've got some mailbag questions, things like that, hit us with them. We'd love to discuss the things that you guys want to hear. If you just want to hear us talk like jackasses like we always do.
Like jackaxes?
Yeah, like jackasses. I hiccuped right in the middle of that word.
Huh.
Didn't work out very well.
Bush Light Apple?
No,
Ale?
it's not the Bush Light Apple.
Is it the 30-ounce Monster Energy drink?
It might
next to
have
that?
been the 30-ounce Monster Energy drink.
Yeah, we're healthy.
For sure, 100%. But hit us up on Facebook. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, and we will see you guys next week.
Take care.